And today we're at the top of Glenroy track, which is a footpath which goes down to Laxey, and we're going to visit a little farm called Clyclack. It's on private property, but I have permission. It's been farmed by the Cleigh family for many years. So off we go. It's a bit of a dreary day, and today it's the 19th of June. Today, day before the longest day of the year. Parish walk. It's going on as I'm doing this little trek, and it's 2021. I've been wanting to do this little place for a while really. It's got quite a, I suppose, significant addition to the house. As I said, it is called Clyclack. It has a chimney, or a Manx word for chimney is Mactullagh, in the middle of the house, and it's quite precarious. So I've always been going to do it. And I want it before it fell off, or fell down, if you want to look at it. It's got quite a good local history. All the renowned dwellers will have a fellow called Tom Caneen, or as locals called him, Tom Alone. Although when I did some history and checking up, there was a Caneen living here, married to Margaret Caneen, and they had a son called John Caneen. So whether Tom Alone referred to their son, John, I don't know. It's a long, lonely path in, and there's a story told of the Fenoderee. Always keeps an eye on the hill dwellers, and a woman who lived in Ballycarran's son had married a woman who lived in Cleigh Clagh, East Baldwin, but she wasn't really happy that the wife was looking after her son and the son became ill. So the mother used to trek the hills from Ballycarran to East Baldwin 2 or 3 times a week to feed him herbals, cures and other little treats, as mothers do. So the Fenoderee was spending hours watching over this woman, and then decided that he had other things to do, so he strewed the path with granite boulders so she could find a way. So if you're on this track, look out for the boulders, they're still there. No doubt there may be a bit of truth in it, who knows. Interesting enough, the Caneens from Cleigh Clagh did move over the hill to here, but I'm not sure when. He was quite a busy individual, made a lot of his own furniture, Tom Caneen, and redesigned a thrashing mill, which is quite unbelievable because the little farm was only 20 acres and it would only be growing oats. And there's something else I didn't see last time I was here. Do you know, you think you do, no, and you don't, do you? So this must be, and is, the axle to the famous Tom Caneen thrashing system, where there's a reduction cogs, so this little pony could drive the mill. A closer look at that, I think. Yeah, smaller cogs than I've seen in the other mills around the countryside. Definitely a different diameter. I suppose I should count the teeth really. But he's added another little cog further back. You just see it there. A little one there. So that must be the one he made to drive the mill. Imagine that. How would he make that up here, eh? Again, you've got to question, how on earth did the money get gathered up to buy or build something like this? 20 acres, you'd have 5 or 6 acres of corn at the most. Amazing. Amazing. So the little pony would walk around this little track here. It's not easy to visualise, I'm afraid, but maybe you can. If you can imagine those cogs are in the centre for a little, what they call the horse walk. There would have been a pole come off the centre of it, and the pony would have walked around. It's probably about 25 to 30 feet in diameter, and the whole 1 horsepower would have powered the little mill, and the thrashing shed would have been the one next door where the axle came out. I'm so glad I found that today. It really has made my day worthwhile. I mean, there is a little story told by the locals when Tom Caneen used to attend the local chapel, Ballycowan in Glenroy. And when it used to come up to harvest time, they'd always spout off this little limerick. And I just have to think how it goes. All is safely gathered in, except for poor Tom Caneen. We're leaving his until the last, because it's still as green as grass. Which sort of refers to the fact that either he was late sowing the seed, or the mountain made it extremely difficult to ripen. Now I'm only doing it for my own satisfaction, really, because there won't be any other preservations on these little places other than photographs in the future, so I keep bleating on about. My apologies if it's getting a bit wearing. Said it was 20 acres. Came up for letting in 1866 when Mr. Stoll was here as the tenant. It is described as a lucrative little small holding with superb dwelling house and superior outbuildings and a garden. You look out today, it's difficult to believe anybody would live here. It is on private property, so no sneaking over the hill to look out. I've had permission. I've taken a few photographs a few years ago, so I'll add to the story of where they came from and where they went to. I have visited this place a few times over the years, and always amazed. When I start off, it looks quite close. I think the track to it is probably getting on for a mile. And Tom Caneen was known to run everywhere. He never walked. So they came up for sale again in 1886. And it was lived in up until the late 1920s, when the Clyclack family took over the area. They remembered it having a tin roof on it at that moment in time, but I think it would only be for people to live in it rather than farm it. We're about 900 feet above sea level here, so it would be harsh. And the big pile of trees you can see next to it, that is the garden. And, they obviously have established quite well, left their own devices. Quite a lot of little ruins on the Glenroy track, which I've been allowed to visit over the years and will continue to do so. So there'll be a few more to video in the future, maybe. I'm not sure when I'll put this one out, probably shortly. The day is not the best, but It does suit the video better than a still camera these sort of days, so it can't cope with harsh lighting. It's quite a still day, so we can hear the birds, which is always a delight to me. And even up here the gorse is still managing to flower. A great afternoon with the family yesterday. They came up and visited the old homestead at Little London. Penny a day of playing ball. So she didn't want to go up this morning either. As I said, YouTube have changed some parameters for me, so I'm now able to add videos longer than 15 minutes. Whether you want to watch them for 15 minutes or not, I don't know, but it doesn't really bother me too much. Saves a lot of editing. You can always fast forward anyway, can't you? I'll pause, nip off for a toilet break, a cup of tea, you answer the door, have a row with the wife, scold the kids, and pretty much your average day really. That's a good panorama of the area, I suppose. Looking over the Glenroy site. And hawthorns. Trees this year, the flowers have been, well, the blossoms have been superb. Now they tell me that's going to be a bad winter because there'll be lots of berries on them. There's always something, isn't there? You can just smell the sweetness of the hawthorn. It's delightful. Normally I see a bunch of hawthorns, I always think there will be something around them because they did get planted for various reasons, as I've explained over the many videos. And lo and behold, we have another little ruin. There's not much left of this one. And this one is ancient. Probably older than the one up there, Clyclack, because the in between has been filled in with soil. By the looks of it, there would have been 2 or 3 little buildings attached to the house. Which one's the house? I don't know. I couldn't really find any markations of a chimney or a fireplace. Somebody's obviously been trying to establish what was here beforehand. Highly satisfying to find something I didn't know about. It just goes to show, doesn't it, what I've said before. You need to take your time. And we don't have much out these days, do we? You can walk it in about 10 minutes, you brisk step on. I said Tom Canine, the local man who gets all the mention, would have walked down to the village once or twice a week for supplies. Would thought nothing of it. That'll be like a 5 or 6 mile trek there and back. When I go to these places, I do like to be on my own as much as I can, because that way you can take your time. I know I sound a bit of a crank, but if you visit these places and just wait, they're never dead. They're never empty. You can sense the past, how busy it was. 20 acres. Doesn't sound much these days when you've got farms of hundreds of acres, but if you only had one horse, one pair of hands, it would be enough, I think. And we didn't have TVs to study at nights, did we? So no doubt the chores would have continued. Yet again, it is a joy to be out, is it not? I'm still able to do it. Did an interview with Mr. Corlett Senior a couple of years ago. He's been in this area for many, many years, and as I said, owns most of the Glenroy area. So we give loads of history and little tittle tattles in the area that you would never see or find anywhere else. So we'll revisit it one day, put some snippets together, put a video to it about the area he was talking about. Nice family, good farming family. Manx as the hills. Leave their family continue. The son isn't very keen on the farming, and he has kids of his own, so hopefully they'll stay here forever. Anyway, here we are on this pile of stones, old Clyclack. Various ways of spelling it. It's C-L-E-I-G-H, C-L-A-U-G-H, or C-L-E-I-G-H, C-L-A-G-H. 2 words. I've also seen it spelled C-L-I, clack, so take your pick. Every generation spelt it different apparently. And that is truly magnificent, isn't it? Mactullagh there sits on its own. Amazing, really. I'll be so sad with that, and when it does fall down, because that to me is always my marker that things are still okay in the world. Astonishing. Astonishing. As I said, it is called a chollig, which is the Manx word for a chimney. Quite a lot of buildings to the little place. More than just the house anyway. It runs along the little track. Carries on across the bottom of Slue Roy. And we end up with a cart shed. I didn't see that last time I was here. It just shows, doesn't it? When you rush things, you miss things. Will this be one of the originals, eh? Imagine Tom Ganeen hanging his gate on that. Looks like a door latch and a hinge. If this is off Tom's front door, eh? Gotta touch it to feel it, I think. Yeah, they've dug out the back. Prevent dampness running in, I suppose. Not many would have done that. One thing for sure, Tom alone would not have been cold with that massive big chimney in the middle of the house, eh? Astonishing. I'm so glad they're still standing. Just gives me heart. It does prove the point that what I was told may be correct. That at the end of its last few years it was galvanised roofed. Because that looks like a bit of an older galvanised roof there to me. So today I'm sitting in Tom Alone's seat by this huge big fire. It's a December day, still as they can make it. Cloudless, but cloudy. And he's contemplating this day's chores. Sheep to check on, cattle to feed, cow to milk, chores to do, wood to chop to keep him warm through the next few weeks. And this here fireplace would take some filling, would it not? The little chimney still standing. Hallelujah. So I can walk around the little chollig. See what I mean? Would have heated the whole house from there. Everyone I see, I thought, oh, they should have preserved it. He must have been really cold man, because there's another fireplace at the end of this house. So not only would he have the middle one, he have the centre one as well. And there he's got a window out onto his garden. Where he grew his vegetables. Must have had an upper floor as well, because there's rafters going across, or maybe just support the roof. Who knows? You can imagine Tom alone standing in that doorway, can't you? Maybe he had a little pipe in his hand, who knows? I like to think he would have done. Surveying his property, deciding what to do next. One thing's for sure, he wouldn't be doing any Googling. So there's a lot more buildings on this place than I remembered, strangely, and for 20 acres. It's well made for sheds and byres and cattle sheds and calf sheds and pig sheds. More proof of galvanising, which tends to probably confirm it really. And in behind all these little sheds is his garden. I'll look around there now, see if we can pick up some facts. As we walk under the boughs of the ash tree, keeping the evil spirits away. As I've always said, the old folks are highly superstitious. Ashes and rounds are always planted, so you'll always find them where these ruins are. And this little garden here would have fed him, I'm sure, over the years, and other families came here. Another feature this is another feature I didn't see last time I was here. Hole in the ground, I suppose. I'm wondering whether this is for water. Because there would have had to be water here somewhere. This looks like it's been dug out for a reason. Perhaps another question has been answered. The old tree bending in the wind. Very much alive though. There's always something to spoil the pleasance of the day, and there's a helicopter somewhere bleating away. And there's another little thing I hadn't seen. This must have been his road down to his lower fields, because you can just see the slight outline of walls on the right hand side and the ones on the left. Another thing to think about here when you're looking at this, folks. Look at the stone walls that's in this area on this farm. Every field he's got is built by stone walls, and every one of those stones would have been placed by hand. Thousands, millions of them dug out of the ground and placed there by hand. Can you possibly imagine it? Because I struggle. And this is the continuation of the road back up to his house. Again, I'm surmising. I could be miles out. It may not be anything to do with it. But there would have been a road to lower fields, I'm sure. This pony would have had to go down, back with its cart, because he did find the cart shed. Come on, Penny. So now I'm walking Tom Caneen's path. So come with me. He's been down, checked the sheep. Everything's okay. It's 10:30 Sunday morning. Just in time to get back in to the Mactullagh, or the fireplace, grab a cup of tea. Once he's had his cup of tea, put on his posh boots, his coat, and off he'd run as fast as his little legs could take him, because he didn't want to be late. He was never late. Never late for chapel on a Sunday. I'm sitting just in front of the Mactullagh in Clyclack, and I just thought I'd give you a bit of history of the place before I move on, more than I already told you. Clyclack means stone hedge, and it sits at the base of the mountain called Fenoderee, or hill. It's probably more like a hill than a mountain, and it was occupied up until 1920s. And as I said, it was famously lived in by a guy called Tom Caneen, or Tom Alone. But whether he was alone or not, I'm not sure. But it is a beautiful, beautiful spot, even today in this cloudy, overcast day. And I'm sorry you can't visit it, but if you walk down the Glenroy track from the windy corner to Laxey, you can espy it on the hillside. It's over on the left hand side. And very, very peaceful. I can hear the birds tweeting today. There's hardly any wind, and I'm on my own, but I'm not. So now we'll just do a few shots around the place, anything that takes my fancy, and stick it up on the viewing system. What do you think, Penny? Do you think we should have a walk around? Do you think we should have a walk around? I think we probably should have, shouldn't we?